Greetings, loved ones. Today we're going to talk about how to collect evidence of abuse. Help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You never know, just by doing so, you could save a life. The more evidence you have, the better your case, and there is a safe way to do it. In the fictional world of movies and television, you'll see detectives interviewing witnesses after a crime, while a forensic team in white lab coats dust the scene for fingerprints, gather up suspicious items in plastic bags, and carefully photograph broken windows. In real life, things are a bit different. For survivors of domestic violence, often they must become their own detectives, gathering up as much evidence as possible to prove the abuse ever happened. In fact, there are 23 different types of evidence survivors can collect on their abusers, and we're going to discuss that in our next episode. But today we're going to discuss collection of evidence, and taking a stand is not enough on its own. However unfair this may sound, it's a reality for the millions of domestic violence survivors out there. Their testimony of the abuse is hardly ever sufficient on its own. In fact, taking the stand against their abusers can often backfire, says attorney, activist, and author of the blog Argue Like a Girl, Gabby Petito. She says victims have a tough time of being believed, especially when their account of the abuse comes under attack. They're often accused of suffering the after effects of abuse, things like cognitive impairment, memory problems, and paranoia, and their testimony can be called in question as a result. She says, when those things come across on the stand, they easily get turned into credibility attacks, when in fact they support their allegations of abuse. If it comes down to a he said, she said, the victim will most likely lose. That's why Carminati says witnesses are an important piece of the evidence. So, did anyone else see it or hear it? If survivors can find someone else to corroborate their account of the abuse, someone who saw it or heard it firsthand, known as a bystander witness, or if there is a qualified mental health counselor who is trained in domestic violence trauma and who can testify on a survivor's behalf, known as expert witness, the case will be stronger. Carminati says she subpoenas every person she can subpoena to corroborate her client's account. It is important for those witnesses not to overstate, not to be mean-spirited, but just stick to describing the facts. It won't win the day for sure, but they can certainly tip the scales in the favor of the victim. So the question is, how is there a safe way to record the violence? Making recordings of an abusive incident, including harassment, threats, or violence, would be really helpful in court, but it can put the survivor at more risk. So, not to mention, an abuser could access the recording, destroy it, and then become more violent. Instead, Nara Payton, the domestic violence advocate with Safe Austin, suggests survivors call a trusted friend or family member when an incident is escalating. You have them on speed dial. That person, she says, may record and store it on their own phone, to which the abuser does not have access. But she admits that this is not an option for all survivors. She says either because they have been so isolated from friends and family, or because it simply is not safe for them to call someone in that moment. There's another option. There's an app called Ice Black Box, and it allows you to record a video and then automatically stores it in the cloud and sends it to your in case of emergency contact to prevent it from being destroyed. It's really important to know, don't keep the evidence on you. Survivors who collect evidence, audio or video recordings, screenshots of text messages, threatening emails, a diary, or a log of abuse, they should not keep that evidence in a place where their abuser can find it, like at home. This not only places the survivor at additional risk, but the abuser will most likely make sure that evidence never sees the light of day if it's discovered. Carminati says the best way to get evidence out is to start emailing it to their lawyer. She says, I ask my clients to send me the evidence right away as they get it, and she says they can drop it off at her office. What matters most is to get it out from where the abuser may be able to have access to it. So, what if you don't have a lawyer? You can see if a trusted friend, family member, or co-worker can store the evidence somewhere away from your home. So here's another important question to ask. Are you being tracked? As crazy as it may sound, survivors also need to consider the possibility that an abuser has installed spyware on their computer, on their phone, and other devices. And this could allow an abuser to see what a survivor is storing or sending, such as evidence. Finding spyware could be evidence in itself. In some states, it constitutes stalking. If possible, speak to an attorney or a domestic violence advocate about providing evidence of this in court. Truthfully, it is quite common these days for aggressors to use tracking apps and spy apps on their victims. Whenever we conduct a rescue, we make sure the victim's phone is off, and we take the battery and chip out to ensure that the phone cannot be activated externally. In one rescue, we had a 90-minute window to rescue a victim on the other side of the country. She was supposed to clean up the house, shower and dress, and meet her husband at their small business in the local market. Our plan was for her to pick up her girls at school and then take a cab to our pickup point, which was a high-traffic restaurant on the side of the highway, and then her driver would whisk her through the mountains to the capital city 2 hours away, where we could recover her and bring her and her girls to our refuge an hour from the capital. Unfortunately, he had a tracker on her phone, and once he saw she was at the school and not at home or on the way to the market, he began calling and texting her, and she did not answer him. When she and the girls arrived at the pickup point and she told the driver he knew she wasn't where she was supposed to be, we told her to turn her phone off, take out the battery and chip, and toss it in the trash barrel before entering the car. It worked. We were able to extract her and the girls and bring them to safety. With 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence worldwide and 15 million children witnessing the violence every year, the question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. And those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the help and the courage they need to leave before it is too late. Help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. And please share these messages with others. You never know. Just by doing so, you could save a life. If you're a victim of violence, take a moment and listen to me. I want you to know the truth. And the truth is, you are valued. You are loved. You are intelligent, and you are beautiful. God doesn't want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. You're not alone. There is a way out. It's not your fault, and abuse is not love. If you're a victim of violence, please reach out to someone today. If you are in a dangerous situation, dial 911 for help. And if you know of a child suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we're going to talk about 23 ways survivors can collect evidence of abuse. And until then, God bless you.